Today we're going to sew our first sewing samples, and you have directions like this. The one thing that's not on your directions is that diagram, so you can take a look at it here. What you want to do is take your 8-inch strip of fabric that we cut, and you're going to cut from your 8-inch strip a 5-inch piece. Then you're going to curve one of the corners, gentle curve. And we're ready to get started. The first directions ask you to sew a line 5/8 of an inch from the edge, and you can see right here you have a 5/8 inch marking on your machine. 5/8 of an inch is the usual seam allowance on commercial patterns. So you want to line up the edge of your fabric with 5/8, turn your needle in, press your foot down, and you're ready to sew. Make sure you have your thread back. Okay, take your time. You don't want to start too close to the top because sometimes that bunches up. So you're going to take your time, and it's straight for a while, but then when it starts to curve, slow down a little bit, and you just keep watching here where it says 5/8. If you find that you can't turn the corner, put the needle in, adjust your fabric, and continue. Curves are a little bit slower than straight lines. So you keep watching right here at 5/8, and then you sew to the edge of the fabric. Try not to run off because sometimes that gets all knotted up. When you're done, make sure the needle is in the up position. Lift your presser foot and clip your threads, and clip the other threads too. The next line that you want to do is square corners. Start, and this time we're not measuring on the side, we're just starting. Needle in, presser foot down, and you're going to take a few stitches, and you're going to stop. If your needle stops in the up position, put it down, lift your presser foot, pivot. It doesn't matter which direction you pivot in. Sew a little bit more, needle in, lift your presser foot and pivot. Stop, needle in, lift your presser foot and pivot. Needle in, lift the presser foot and pivot. You want to make sure you do at least 4 corners. You can do as many as you like, but at least that many. And then take your thread and trim it. And it should look something like this. The next line you want to do is large stitches. We've been working with a regular stitch size right now, which is either 2.5 to 3 stitches or 9 stitches to 12 stitches per inch. The next thing that we want to do is large stitches. So find your stitch length, put it on large. It doesn't have to be the largest. Needle in, press your foot down. 4 on most machines is good. And you're just going to do a straight line. And there's no side where you're looking at the measurement. This is just a straight line on your fabric. And stop. Clip your threads. And you've got large stitches. Large stitches are typically used for gathering. The next thing you want to do is small stitches. So we're going to go down to 1.5 or 2. Don't go all the way down to 0 because then your needle won't move because doesn't have any length. Needle in, press your foot down. And what you'll notice is that your machine is moving very close together, very small stitches. These are difficult to get out, so make sure if you're using small stitches, you need to use them. So you're guiding, and I'm not holding on to my fabric, I'm just guiding it along the sides, and I'm watching what I'm doing. If I need to look at something else, I will stop before I do that. And stop, needle out, lift the presser foot, clip your threads, and you've sewed with small stitches, like so. The next step asks you to stitch with a back stitch. So we're going to start in a little bit, needle in, press your foot down. I'm going to hold my reverse lever down, find yours. It's either a lever or a button. And we're going to go back a ½ inch. We're going to sew backwards. You should only sew backwards when you have the reverse lever engaged. So go backwards. Some sewing machines automatically do a forward and then a back and then a forward stitch, which is okay, but if you can control it and only have 2 stitches, it's less to take out if you make a mistake. Come over that same line of stitching, sew to the edge, and when you get to the edge, needle in, reverse, about a ½ inch. A back stitch is used to secure your fabric when you're sewing. So maybe you can see here that when I do this, I went in reverse, and I came forward, sewed forward, stopped, and went in reverse. The last thing we want to do on here is a zigzag stitch. So find your zigzag and take a look at the width that you might want to do, and you can practice with different widths. Just don't change the width while you're stitching. Needle in, press your foot down, and we're going to zigzag. And what you might find is that a wide zigzag might pinch in your muslin. And you can change the width. I'll make it a little bit smaller. And trim your threads. And you could trim these a little bit closer to neaten them up. And there's your sample. So you want to complete your sample, and you can do any size zigzag width you want and practice the different sizes. When you're finished, and I would like you to do 3 samples exactly the same, label them 1, 2, and 3 in the order that you do them, something like this. Here's a sample labeled number 1. And they should get better as you go along. When you're finished sewing all of your samples, you'll take the 3 of them and mount them on a paper where down here you have the label for sewing samples, today's date will be on it, and your name. And then you can put it into your page protector, into your binder, and there's your first sample.